Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bikini in the Brain. And guess who's here with me?
I bet you guys never guessed. It's me. It is me.
It is.
That is spelled M-E.
Yep.
Me.
Waltzer.
Welcome, everyone, to our Bikini and the Brain podcast. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be lots of fun, I promise.
Yes, today we are in Las Vegas. We're at Ashley's house, and we just got our workout in. We're gonna have a good day. But the interesting topic for today is, with everything going on in the world and shows, getting postponed and canceled and moved. Maybe you're one of those people that have been in that scenario where you're motivated, and then your show gets canceled, and then what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna give a whole bunch of status updates too, because I'm one of those people, Adam. Yeah. I've been picking all the wrong shows this season. Like, every show I've picked so far has gotten canceled. But
every show.
Yeah, but they're still going through.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to say 60% of them are going through.
Yeah.
But I just so happen to be picking the wrong ones. So poop on a stick.
Seriously. And then what's really unfortunate was when the show got canceled, we never got enough notice. So she'd be like 2 weeks out when there was a show next weekend. We could have just been ready if we just had like a month or 2 months notice type of thing. Yeah. So she's in amazing shape right now. She's been, what did you say? This is the longest you've been 95%.
Yes,
ready.
I've been hanging on to this 95%. I'm not 100%, so I can't compete in Tampa this weekend. But if I had a little bit more notice, I would have been ready. But what happened is, there was 3 shows on August 8th, the weekend of August 8th, which is next weekend, right?
Yep.
And I was like, wow, this is a great time to prep for, because if one show gets canceled, there's 2 left. And then if another one gets canceled, there's got to be one that goes through, right?
Yeah.
All 3 got canceled.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But the frustrating thing is Tampa is going through this weekend. So if I was ready just like a week sooner, I would have been able to do it, but I didn't really have the notice. And I'm like, it takes me a while to prep and to get to that 100%. So, better safe than sorry. I could have competed, but I wouldn't have been my best, and I wouldn't have felt very confident about competing. So with that being said, we got to replan again. Replanning.
Again, yeah. So she'll be coming back, and as long as everything goes according to plan.
Crossing the fingers. I want to do Clash, which is in Florida, and it's August 22nd. So I signed my IFBB contract for that show. Let's hope it goes through.
Yeah, that's a good show. That's a big show too.
Yeah.
So it's one of the better shows in terms of, so like the shows aren't really, about prize money or anything like that. But when you do have good, like bigger prize money, you do get better level of talent that goes out, bigger names. And so I think that's like the biggest, besides like the Arnold and Olympia in terms of, in terms of that. So it's a very high level show. Got to be 100% for that one. And we've learned you just got to be 100% period these days. There's no 95% is not acceptable these days.
I've dabbled when I was like, 95%. Let's just see what happens if I just drop in on the show. And, I don't look as lean as I usually do, but it just wasn't a good idea because I just didn't look very on point.
Yeah,
I didn't look too crisp, so
just a little bit off, and it's just too much these days.
Just that little bit off makes a huge difference at this level of competition. And it doesn't look like there's any lack of competition during this COVID time, that's for sure, because you would think like, people are staying inside, some people can't get to the gym, not a lot of people are competing. No, from what we're seeing, 31
at the last one.
Yeah.
31.
And that was a show with 2 shows that same weekend, which is another one that I'm like, prep for that weekend instead. Yeah. But it looks like people are very willing to compete. They're ready, they're anxious, they're eager, just like me. So there is no lack of talent. And it looks like in Tampa, there's going to be a lot of talent. Yeah. And that's not even a big show in comparison to, let's say, the Clash and some of these other shows. So I don't expect there to be any there never is an easy show, but there is definitely not going to be any lack of talent. Yeah. That is for darn sure. That is That is for sure.
Gone are the days of the 12 people in a pro show.
Oh, yes?
Yeah.
I was telling Adam, I'm like, I can't even be picky anymore with these shows. Like, it used to be like, oh, you know, maybe I can do this show on this week because I'll be, you know, closer to home, and I'm competing with people I'm familiar with, and it'll be a good location. And, you know, I used to pick shows for those reasons, but now it's like, just gotta get in a show, whatever pops up. So hopefully, you know, this one is gonna go through.
Yeah. So you know, and then for everyone else, the regular shows are happening. Is a lot of the pro shows are a little bit more difficult because now that people are actually doing the shows, it's looking a little better. But you got to remember, there's a lot of expense for a pro show, and if you can't have an audience and you're paying out this big prize money, it's really hard for a promoter to justify a pro show and losing an additional $15,000, $30,000 in prize money when you can't even have an audience for the pros. I mean, it's a difficult thing, you know. So yeah, so I definitely understand the reasoning for it on the pro level. Not so much on the amateur level. I think on the amateur level, you can always make up for it with entries and whatnot. So, but so the amateur shows, they're pretty much happening for the most part. So that's a good thing. The season's coming in, but the main thing that we want to talk about is, you know, how are you able to stay motivated when your shows potentially aren't even going to be happening? And also we should talk about the average weight gain that we've run into, which has been
shocking when you told me.
It's been reported. I've seen it two different ways. I've seen it as 16 pounds and I've seen 19 pounds. I don't know which one the accuracy is. The average weight gain during COVID shutdown, 16 and 19 pounds, which I'm going to throw this out there. So this is the truth of the nature. 18% in at least in America, 18% of all early deaths are caused by obesity in America. And it's a stat that drives me crazy because I think I can have impact on that eventually. But when we're talking 18% of early deaths is the reason for it, something has to be done, you know, in terms of if health is the priority right now, but 18% of our deaths are caused by that, we got to look at that stat and be like, okay, people got to get moving again, you know, at this point. You know, if we're talking about a 0.2% death rate from COVID, which is the true number right now, it makes sense that if 18% of the deaths in America are from obesity and people are gaining crazy amount of weights during lockdown, we got to start making sense of these things. So how can we be as motivated as you and stay lean during COVID? I personally haven't gained any weight. I lost like 7-8 pounds.
Well, I mean, you do own a gym.
Yeah. So I don't have the same excuse. It's an unfortunate. I can't even really put myself in a lot of people's situations because I do have that luxury. And a lot of my but what I have been, I am surrounded by very motivated people, and my you know, my training program is you know, 99% online. Even the people who are in Denver don't even really train at the contest prep center. They train wherever they're at, and then they just do their check-ins online. So, but those, for the most part, I would say 85%, maybe even 90% of our people are still staying on path and making progress, and have had people compete and look crazy good when half of their prep was at home and stuff. Yeah. So there's really, but how are you staying motivated through it? I can't really relate to it because you did go through that. You were in California. You were stuck at home working out.
Yes. So like, you know, we're all in different locations and some people have it better than others as far as access to gyms. And I think like when the lockdown first started, I was doing well with it because I guess it was like a new thing for me doing indoor workouts. And as you guys know, I was like doing the staircase in my apartment, which was like 12 floors. So I kind of found ways to make it work. But eventually, yeah, those were getting boring. And I was getting unmotivated because I'm just like, how many freaking resistance band workouts am I going to do? Like, get me into a real gym. I don't think a lot of people realize, like, a lot of people, you know, when you try to express that it's just not the same, you know, the gym, you know, it's like, oh, just do some push-ups and sit-ups, stop complaining about going to the gym. And it's like, you don't understand if you're not in the industry, especially us physique athletes where we have to be so routine and do much more exercise than the average person. And sorry, but you probably can't prep doing just push-ups and sit-ups and jumping jacks, okay? you could probably maintain for a little bit, but at some point you're going to be like, okay, get me to a gym for gosh sakes.
That makes me, that's probably out of this whole thing, probably makes me the most upset is when someone's like, oh, just go to the park. And what are you complaining about? The gyms aren't open. Just go to the park. Or like a politician or something. I'm like, you obviously don't work out. And so you can't relate, but this is our life. This is what makes us feel good. Mm-hmm. This is where we get release stress. This is what we do. That's like us telling you can't, do anything politically for the next 3-4 months. Drive them crazy, but they can't relate. So the one thing that I think has been really cool with you is that you've made progress at every stage, even when you were doing band stuff, even when your shows are getting canceled. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that as that pro mentality. Mm-hmm. And there's this kind of like this, it's not a saying, it's something that someone said one time that I kind of go off of. And so when I see a pro athlete that's trying to be the best in the world, there's a lot of different types of pro athletes. There's pro athletes who kind of have gotten there, they've gotten there, but every single time they do a show, it's a transformation. Every single time. And it's so frustrating because they're like, I want to be the best. I want to be Miss Olympia. And then they're not. And I'm like, well, then why aren't you progressing in the off season? Why is it this constant transformation process with you that every time we get you ready for a show, we have to lose 20 pounds? It's so frustrating as a coach, because if you really want to be the best in the world and you really want to be a professional athlete, you need to act like a professional athlete 100% of the time. There's no difference of being a professional athlete in the IFBB as there is in the NBA, as there is in the MLB, the NHL, NFL. Mm-hmm. You act the same all the way through. And if you think Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant would show up to the first day of training camp as an equivalent, like a bikini competitor gained 20 pounds, those guys weigh, 190 or so. You think that they were showing up to practice 30 pounds overweight on their first practice? Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. There's no way they would do that because they wanted to be the best in the world. So their off season was not an off season. Mm-hmm. It was get better season. I can get better. I can get better. There's this famous story of Kobe Bryant, and he was at the gym one day, and I forget who the guy was there. Someone will put in the comments. He was at the gym one day. There was another guy from another team practicing in the same court. They were practicing in basketball court. Mm-hmm. Kobe Bryant was there. The guy showed up for his practice, and Kobe Bryant stayed and stayed and stayed. And I guess he was there for 8 hours or something crazy, just practicing running drills like crazy. And the guy finally left and was and Kobe Bryant said, I just wanted him to know that no matter what he does, I will outwork him and he won't catch up to me because he'll never work as hard as me. And that's why I'm going to be the best in the world. And that's the thing. That's the mentality you have to have. When you look at Issa Pacini, right? She's current Miss Bikini Olympia. Look at her pictures all year long. All year, look at her stories all year. You do not see her gain 15, 20 pounds. You wouldn't see her like that because she's wants to be number one. She's not going to let anyone create space. She's not going to create space for anyone to catch up. And if you catch up, it's going to be through working harder than her, which is going to be very hard to do because she's not allowing the space, and that's the thing. There's this and I'm going back to that saying, and this guy he's arguably one of the best jiu-jitsu guys ever existed, right? Rickson Gracie. A lot of people don't know of him, but he was Royce Gracie's brother, was better than Royce Gracie. Royce Gracie would always say, my brother will tap me all the time. And Royce Gracie was kind of the more commercialized, known to be the best guy in the world, one of the best guys in the world for sure. But he'd always say his brother's better than him. And Rickson Gracie was talking one time, and he was saying that, he's like, when we start with our match, we start off in a neutral position. And then from there, I go to level 1, and then I go to level 2, and then I go to level 3. He goes, but we do not go back to level 2. I do not ever give up my advantage. I do not ever go back to level 1. I never give up my advantage. Once I get a hold of you and I'm closing the space, I'm just progressing until you're done. I'm just progressing. And I don't understand why the mentality of physique athletes is ever anything but that. If you take this seriously, nothing should stop you. This should be an advantage to you because a lot of people are going the other direction and they're creating space, but you're moving to level 3. And maybe for you to get to level 4 right now is going to be a little harder to climb that level because you might not have gym access, your motivation isn't as high. But if you can find a way to get to 4 and everyone else is going to 2 and then to 1 and then back to neutral, you're gaining. And these transformation preps as a pro is just so, it's just so not what a professional sport is, you know?
I know.
And so
It's crazy how like some athletes can look so on point during the season, lean, sculpted, but in the off season, they look kind of like just a regular thick girl, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. And it, you know, it's a learning lesson that we have to learn sometimes too. I've done the same thing, and I put on excess weight in the off season. And I've mentioned here before too, at the time I thought I was doing good. Like, oh yeah, it's bulking season. Yeah. Got to put on some muscle. So to put on muscle, got to put on fat, but it doesn't really work like that. And I would say additionally, whenever you do put on weight in the off season, it makes it really hard for you to make those muscular improvements as well. So let's say in the off season, right, you're like, okay, it doesn't matter really if I get thick and I can put on some fat, it doesn't matter because I'm trying to really build up my shoulders. So I'm just going to train my shoulders a lot and feed the muscle, but you end up gaining weight. And here's what happens is when it's time for your show and it's like prep time, right? And you're like 12 weeks out or whatever. And it's like, okay, I got to get lean now. And you know what gets put off to the side? Training the shoulders. You know why? Because now your main focus is gotta get lean.
Yeah.
Because we only have so much energy to put forth. So are you going to spend all your energy trying to get lean, or you can put forth the energy to train the shoulders and not be as lean? I know for me, and I would say probably for you too, it's safer to say it's better to make sure you're conditioned. If something's going to take a back seat, don't let it be conditioning. Don't let it be the leanness, okay? Because sometimes you can get away with not having the most developed shoulders or developed legs, and it won't hurt you as much as just being out of shape on stage, because that's clear that, you know, this person wasn't prepared for the show.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the off seasons too, you know? That's what I always tell people, like if you're a bikini competitor and you weigh, let's say the average bikini competitor's weight is probably like 120, 125 on stage for like the average 5'5" bikini competitor. 5'1", it could be, you know, down to as near as 105 pounds or so. But when we're talking, you're a professional athletes in almost every other sport. NFL goes a little bit like for like, but not a lot. They're all maintaining their weight for the most part in the off season. And I don't know why our sport, it's like such a thing, you know?
Well, I mean,
like,
to be fair, to be stage lean all year is kind of
no.
But to be 90, 95%, you know,
there's
that's
no
more
reason.
But yeah, we don't have to get like from super in shape person to just a normal thick person in the off season.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I say 6 to 8% of your stage weight is where someone should be at. So if you're 120 pounds, roughly 10 pounds, you know, off season, then it's not that hard to get in stage shape. You know, it's not that hard. You need to lose 10 pounds to get stage ready. That takes you, if you lose 1 pound a week, that takes you 10 weeks, you know, and you can live fine being 10 pounds above your stage weight. It's not going to affect most people like hormonally and whatnot. Most people can live there. You know, you're just living a fit life. You know, it's not like we're talking about being 12% body fat the whole year. We're talking, you know, being, you know, walking around at 16%, 17% as a female, and then getting stage ready at, you know, 14%, 13%, you know, maybe even 18% in the off season. But there's no reason that you should be going up to 22, 23%. Like that's not doing this for a sport. So there's two different types of people I kind of put in categories. I feel like there's fitness, I call them fitness tourists. And then I have people who live fitness, right? So fitness tourists, how I define it, is like someone who's kind of a transformation person, who's visiting fitness. You know, they're going to go aggressive. They're going to do one show. Like, it's not like a lifestyle they want to live forever. They just want to accomplish that goal. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But once you cross that line and you're like, I get this all the time. People will be like, I want to be the next Miss Olympia. I want to be a pro. I want to be this. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Now we just changed the game plan completely, because when you talk about being, I want to be the best in the world, and you start talking like that, you better act like that right now from now on. You want to be a professional in anything. It is not easy to be a professional. I think that some people have they just don't understand the concept of that. You know, it's like if I wanted to be a professional baseball player right now, I don't even think I'd have enough time to shoot this. I need to be training, period, training, workout, batting practice, fielding practice, everything, right? But in our sport, it's like, oh, just in season, I'm going to be serious. And I'm like, no, that's not how professional sports work. If you want to be just fit and then go and be on show and do a show, I think that's wonderful. And I think everyone should do that because it teaches you a lot about yourself, discipline, and other areas of your life. It affects you in other ways positively besides just the show. And there's nothing wrong with that. But don't say you want to be professional. Mm-hmm. And if you turn professional and you say, hey, I want to be the next Miss Olympia, well, you better get to work every single day, because there's no period where you can take time off if you want to be the best in the world. Literally at anything, you know, there's nothing you could do to be the best in the world and not train all the time for it, you know? So COVID or not, you know, that motivation needs to come within if that's the goal. So
yeah, I think like I've expressed to you before, whenever you ask me, how can I go for so long, for this long period of time? And I think it's not uncommon for somebody to go 100% for 12 weeks or 16 weeks. But after that's done, they kind of just let it go.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes you'll see pros, they turn pro, they look like they have a lot of promise, but then you don't see them in the next year or next years.
Yeah.
Whereas it's way more rare to see somebody have a longer career because they're able to keep that motivation and, you know, keep a good head on their shoulders and be realistic about goals and allow themselves to have a break, but not get to the point of no return. What an unfair world we live in, that it is so much easier to put on fat than to lose it.
Yeah.
Like that, how you can lose like 16 weeks worth of training in a few weeks.
Yeah, easily.
If you just go ham.
Yeah.
You know?
could do like 10 days, you could lose it all.
Isn't that crazy? What
yeah.
an unfair world. So you got to make this a lifestyle. It's got to become a habit. And I think that like once you grasp what things you like to do and like to eat, how you like to season your food and flavor your healthy food, it's not that hard to stay on track. You just got to learn these little things. And I know some people have like one taste of something and they're addicted and they need to have more. You know, I think we need to get rid of that idea that if you order a huge cheat meal, you don't have to eat the whole thing. Yeah. Share it with some friends. I think that's like such a slippery slope after a show, right? You go out with your friends at Cheesecake Factory and you go ham, okay? Yeah. And it tastes good, but afterwards you don't feel so good. You're bloated. You ate way more than you needed to eat. Your stomach's distended. Nothing's digesting properly. I personally hate that feeling. You know, I hate that feeling. Yeah. I hate the feeling of being bloated, not being able to suck in. I hate the feeling of being pregnant with food. Yeah. Like I'm pregnant with 2 cheeseburgers. I hate that feeling. I hate it. So I'll have like little tastes, little samples if I'm craving something after a show. I'll ask my friends, can I try a piece of your French fry?
She's a taster. She's a nibbler.
French fry. You know, like, can I have a sip of your milkshake? You know, I have very generous friends, but I'm also not afraid to ask. So like, I'll have like little samples of things, but I don't want to binge. And I do realize the hardest thing is like, you know, the next few days, I think they have, what is it called? The post-show depression in a way. It's like, okay, I just achieved this thing. I competed. Now what? Now what do I do? If you don't have like a goal already set for yourself, it's kind of confusing how I should go about this. And if you do have a goal set and it's like farther away, you always think, oh, well, I don't have to compete till, you know, another 2 months and I'm already ready. I'm already in shape. But you can lose that so quickly. It's such a slippery slope. And let me tell you something, real sugar is so, it's like you get a taste of that real sugar and you're like, oh, wait a minute. This tastes so much better than
I had real sugar in so long. I don't even know how.
I know, but once you have it, it's like, oh.
Really? Yeah, I haven't had any in so long.
Like if you have like a dessert or something with the real stuff, it's like, need more.
You know what I had? I had the stevia cheesecake the other day.
Really?
Yeah, from Cheesecake Factory. That was like, I split one. I split one with Anya. And it was like, I think the whole thing was like 800 calories. And I was like, looked at it and I was like, God, even that little piece is 800 calories.
Well, it's good you split it with that.
Yeah, there's no way. I don't know. I feel guilty. It's not worth the guilt. For me, it's just like a guilt thing. You know, I don't want to. That's not a good thing. That's not healthy for me to feel guilty for eating that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. That's a weird thing too, that you talk about, that the concept of however much they give you, you eat, even if you're not even hungry for that much at that point, you know, but you see it, people clean their plate. And I'm like, would you have been happy if they only gave you 50% of that though? And you would have still been satiated? Like, why are you force feeding at that certain point of cheat meals?
Yeah. You know? Some people are like, well, I better eat this while I can. So I better go all in. Like, oh, I only got a few days to eat this. Like, I can eat like this for a few more days. And then it becomes like a few days becomes like a week, which becomes a few weeks, and then a month. And then it's a slippery slope. And it's like, you got to know when to pull back. And, you know, I think sometimes too, a good thing that often goes overlooked when we're having a cheat meal, especially after a show, because we might be dehydrated because we're not like chugging a gallon of water on show day, you know, none of us are doing that. So a lot of times it's like we're getting that dehydration mixed up with hunger. And if you don't have a like substance in your stomach, such as liquids, you are going to be a lot hungrier and think that you can eat a lot more. And instead of it filling your stomach up with like water, you're filling it up with calories, which I think can be easily avoided if you just kind of have a few glasses of water before you go out for that treat meal. Even if it's not after a show, it's like, kind of like puts you in place a little bit. Like, okay, I'm not that hungry, you know?
I think that this applies to like anyone who's even a regular dieter too. When it comes to once you accomplish your goal, like let's say you're just a regular dieter and you lost 20 pounds, now what do you do, right? That type of thing. The other thing too, that I think that, you know, going back to our subject, which we're awesome at like getting off subject, but it's usually my fault. Actually, this was my fault. But the whole thing with COVID, you know, I think the main issue with people gaining so much weight, you know, gaining this like 16 to 19 pounds, which is, that's insane, by the way. 16 to 19 pounds is nuts to think about. That's more than,
and it's not muscle.
that's more than the November, what is it? The Thanksgiving to January 3rd weight gain. Mm-hmm. The November before Thanksgiving to after January 3rd weight gain. I believe, if I always remember during the year that stat, but I believe that's 6 to 8 pounds. So we're talking already like triple that. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. You know, it's so hard to get that off.
You know what's even crazier though? I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. Even Joe Rogan keeps bringing this up on his podcast. Why are we not hearing about this more? It's always prevention, like wear a mask, sanitize, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away. But no one dares to tap into be healthy.
Yeah.
Like in general, be healthy. You know, excess weight is one of the major causes so many other issues, but especially in a time like this, we should really be focusing on our health, but nobody wants to like go there. I don't know if they're afraid to offend people, if they're obese, but no one wants to say it.
Yeah.
Why?
I think everyone's worried about the backlash of like, everyone's so sensitive these days, you know, like you're like, oh, you're obese and you're making, you know, you're being you're fat shaming because you're saying that obese people are likelier to have a serious problem with this than fit people. No, that's a fact. That's not a fact. If you're obese, you are more likely to have a worse effect of this than if you're in shape. In shape people, for the most part, have been doing pretty fine with this stuff. So yeah, it's a factor. Sorry if it offends you. I'm not going to ever let my stuff be narrated. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to do that. So the fact is, if you've earned the place where you can be like a little more comfortable in this situation, I say kudos to you for taking care of your health. I've had a couple clients that have gotten it that were on program, and actually we're probably total clients in. We're probably like, and you know, we have like on the team. We don't have a ton of clients. You know, we're probably in the like, you know, we have like 8 coaches, so each of them have like, you know, 30 to 30 clients, 40 clients, depending. I have 40 people that I work with directly. So, you know, what, 200, let's say 200 people. We have about 6 people total have gotten it. If I'm looking at everyone's clients and who's told me around there, and everyone's been pretty good with it. I guess we've been lucky, or it's just because they're super fit and healthy that they've just bounced back real quick. I had a girl who got it last week. I was like, oh no. And she was like, it was 3 to 4 days with hers. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's just coincidence. We're just being really lucky. People who are already eating healthy, taking vitamins, all that, who had a lower percentage of body fat, who are active, doing cardio. I don't know. I wish there was some like type of research thing that could show, hey, when you do these things, you basically kick the virus's ass after it kicked your ass for a day or two, right. Which is basically what I've seen consistently has been that. So I don't know.
We're such a small number though, in comparison to the regular population, the super, super in shape, the elite, if you will. It's hard to step this because it's like, you know, professional athletes, yes. And then, you know, our little fitness community, super healthy for the most part, in shape. Obesity is not an issue. Been taking care of my body since forever ago, you know.
Yeah.
I know how to eat healthy. I know what foods my body needs and what vitamins are good for it. Even being in this industry gives me that knowledge of like, this is a good food for you. These are the vitamins that you're probably needing, and just being hyper aware of how your body feels. Am I getting enough rest? Am I putting on any weight? Hyper aware of my health.
Yeah. I think that's an instinctual thing right now at this point, because when I'm not getting enough sleep, I like make a point of it. You know, I'm like, I got to get enough sleep. Like, I don't know if that's a normal thing for people, but we're so aware that it affects our gains, it affects everything.
Yeah.
And it's usually like selfishly motivated, not health motivated, but it's fine. Whatever the motivation comes from. For me, it's like, oh, I better get some sleep this week, or I might gain more weight. My cortisol level will be through the roof. I'll hold on to more body fat. I won't lean out the way I want to. I won't gain the muscles I want to. So that's how I think. But the actual thing is, no, I'm making more, I'm being healthier too because of it. So,
and we both kind of feel like super, I don't want to say worthless, but when we don't exercise, I know for me anyway, I'm like, I feel gross.
Yeah.
I need to get moving. I need to do something.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's still that long.
Safe to say we're both addicted to exercise in both a positive and negative way. Nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with admitting that it's somewhat of an issue for me. But whatever, it is what it is. It's a good one.
Health should always be your priority though, no matter what.
So and that's another thing I'm doing in the future too, with the whole like Vegas thing too, is like really prioritizing my life and what I want to do that's going to help me like live the longest, is not putting myself under the immense stress of like, you know, it's funny, like in my circle, you know, which is a very, very niche, like circle of coaches and that do things that I guess at a higher level. There's very few of us, you know, that do that. And it can easily turn into like consuming your life so much that it becomes a stress, when it should be nothing more than like this just blessing that we get to do this as like a job every day. And it's easy to get lost in that. So that's another reason for me being in Vegas and just having fun with it and keeping the fun going and opening it up to the community. Like that's really what it's about. And honestly, a lot of it, as I'm getting older, a lot of it is about like preserving years. Honestly, I don't ever want to be people. I don't know why people think this. They always like, they'll call me like a fitness entrepreneur. And I'm not though. I'm just a trainer that has like, and people do this about Elon Musk too. And they're like, oh, he's just this crazy entrepreneur. He's like, I'm not, I'm just an engineer that comes up with ideas and then just like is trying to change the world through these ideas. Like, in the result of it is more people are using these ideas and taking advantage of them. And yes, I'm making an income because of it. And that's the same result of me. I'm like, well, this was a problem, so I solved it. And now it's resulted in, doing better for us. But I just don't care anything about that side of things. I just want it, for me now, it's like, okay, especially after this whole COVID thing, which is part of it, it's like, we don't know how long we're going to live in this life. Yeah. I want to impact fitness as much as I can. I want to disrupt the fitness industry as much as possible and interject that to the mainstream as much as possible and decrease that 18% early death rate to maybe 17%. Mm-hmm. That'd be cool if I could be part of that,
Right.
Which is part of the whole Vegas thing. And I'm not going to get crazy with this talk because it can go pretty far with what I'm trying to accomplish in the future with it. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to impact that to some degree.
Right.
So, but it's about health, longevity, doing it for myself now, mm-hmm. To never letting like the business side of things like take control of my happiness. Mm-hmm. And I think that we all need to step back, especially after this whole situation, and look back and like, are you doing the things that are going to help you live the longest and live the happiest? And I think that too often, especially in the United States, because we're like trained as this capitalist people, we're like, more money, more this, more that. I think that we trade a lot of our valuable time in exchange for money. And sometimes we get lost in that. And I'm personally never going to be that guy. I'm exchanging time now to better the world. If money comes of that, great. Mm-hmm. But that's not why I'm exchanging time to help people to get fitter. So if they're in the situation, if it comes up again, more people are in a better scenario of making it through. And also for me, less stress, so I can live maybe to 80, 90, who knows?
I hope so.
Yeah. So I think that we all need to take a step back and like analyze ourselves. Are we doing this for like, how are we living this life? Are we living for happiness? Are we living for, longevity? And this whole like weight gaining of 16, 19 pounds, whatever that is for this COVID thing is, you got to look at that. Like, if you're one of those people, you got to do something about that.
Yeah.
It's not you're probably not feeling the best.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little bit down right now. Everyone's a little depressed right now. Even if it's just a little bit, like I'll say I am, I'm not 100% right now because of the whole situation. It's hard
to be 100.
There's no way.
And no one's living their happiest life right now indoors. That's for sure. Everything's so weird.
Yeah.
Everything's weird.
And there's no way that you gaining whatever, let's say it was only 10 pounds or 8 pounds. There's no way even that is making you happier or healthier.
It's just, I kind of see how that happens though. I mean, for one thing, your mentality is changing, right? People are feeling kind of hopeless. Like, when am I going to be able to even wear a bikini at a pool party?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Hugo. Sorry. Anyway, like, it's just like, it kind of feels hopeless. Like, what's ahead? What is life now?
Yeah.
What am I training for? Why even be healthy? Is the world even going to be a thing in 5 years? And then I know this sounds a little extreme. Not everyone's thinking that, but some people are.
I've never thought that. That's actually surprising.
Like, what is the world? Is that going to be the least of our worries?
I never really even put that. That's a good perspective. That's a good perspective. I've never even thought that someone would even think that way. But yeah, you're right. There's probably are people like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's extreme thing. But another thing is too, obviously the physical disruption of your everyday life. If you're a waitress and you're on your feet 6 hours a day usually, and now not so much anymore. It's just different. You can't get those steps in like you used to. Obviously, some people have their gym closed. It's just depressing, and people just feel like, what is ahead?
Yeah.
But there is light at the end of the tunnel for everything, and although it's not back to normal yet, it is getting a lot better than it was. I think a lot of people are less afraid, even though you'll see numbers and on the news and stuff. I think people are starting to get a better realization on what this does, how it causes different things to happen. And, I think people are starting to understand it more. So with that being said, I think we are starting to get a little bit better, but it's just definitely a disruption of life. And as a competitor, it is frustrating because it's like, when is the shows going to go through? Which shows are going to go through? See, when I saw that the shows were happening again, I was like, oh, yay, they're all going to start happening. Yeah. But as it turns out, it's like 60% happen, then 40% don't. But you just got to keep positive and know that, like, okay, well, I kind of learn my lesson now that they're kind of way more unpredictable than I thought they would be. So just got to stay. But stay in shape. But it's so hard to, I guess the best way to describe it is, when you're a month out from a show, right? It's the home stretch. You can see, this is what I need to do to get here. I'm this far away from my goal. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And you do it, right? You have that motivation. But now it's like, is it going to happen or is it not? It's kind of like, fool me once, shame on.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's like, okay, well, after a few of my shows were canceled, I kind of know that might not go through, but I got to stay positive and I got to stay in shape for when it does happen because I want to go for it. And it's just hard to put yourself in that, I'm a month out, I'm 2 weeks out, and then it just doesn't go through. So.
Yeah. But the cool thing is with that, you're in great shape. You're living lean, and then you can do a lot of things like other things people don't think about. You could do photo shoots right now. You could do those types of things, build your content for your Instagram and whatnot, shoot a lot of media, shoot a lot of home videos, whatever. So to have that when you're in that type of shape, and it just feels good. And you're in your, like, now when you're on stage, I'll definitely say you're not in your healthiest state, but when you're like 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out, I would say most people are in their like healthiest state.
Pretty healthy.
Yeah. I mean, you're lean, but you're not like crazy lean. Your hormones shouldn't be like that negatively affected, if they're affected at all at that stage. There is some things when you get crazy lean that, of course it's not the best state to be in. So, and that's why, I still say, 6-8% above your stage weight is still realistic to get everything for the most part balanced again. And there's going to be, I would say, the masses, there's going to be those outliers that are, they need to be 15 pounds to be whole again. But for the most part, for most people, it's going to be in that like 6 to 8% above stage weight. So
yeah, that's why we were referencing earlier. I've never been 95% for so long. Like I'm not stage ready yet. I'm a few weeks away from stage ready, but I was able to maintain a few weeks out. But just not the best with picking the shows. So.
You're a terrible show picker.
Man,
me too, though. I'm responsible for that.
I know. No, but listen, what's really frustrating is I look back on the shows that I woulda, coulda, shoulda done.
Yeah.
And even in the beginning with the Arnold.
Yeah.
And that whole situation with the eye surgery and me not being ready in time because of the eye surgery and I couldn't do it. That was so frustrating. Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's a bad nightmare that keeps happening, right?
Yeah, and what's crazy is that you've been in quarantine for like way longer than everyone else.
Because of my eye.
Because she had surgery and it was 6 weeks of quarantine, and then quarantine started, and she was in California, which is probably California and New York are like the most like locked down, right, out of everyone.
I think New York is even doing really good now.
Okay.
Because it seems like, maybe I'm wrong about this, but it seems like the places that were hit really hard are now doing really, really good because the people that were going to get it did get it. And now it's like clearing out.
Sweden's killing it.
Yeah.
Sweden's killing it right now. They're living their best life.
And then the places that didn't experience any high waves are now getting it bad because they never got the chance to expose people to like it. I don't know. It just seems that way, but who knows? Because listen, we're getting numbers thrown around all the time on the news and who knows? Yeah. I mean, I'm not sitting there obsessing over it. I try not to watch the news anymore.
Toxic. You can't.
Because first off, you're getting different numbers from different places and different perspectives and everything's biased. So I try not to, but it just seems to me like if the places that were hit hard are just clearing out. It's kind of like an after the storm kind of thing. And then the rainbow is coming out like, okay.
Dude, Sweden's killing it right now. They're like, everyone was like so against Sweden when they first did it. Now they're doing great. And they had like zero economic impact, like almost the minimalist out of everyone else. So whether that was the right route to travel or not, I guess we'll figure that out in the future.
I mean, we all have different setups though in the country. So who's to say, but it's just, I try not to follow the news. You can't follow.
When it first came out, I was like,
obsessing over it.
Well, I think we both were. We were both sending each other stuff all the time. We didn't know. It was like no one knew what the hell was going on. I saw it happen earlier than most because I have Chinese clients. So I saw it happening earlier, and I was getting these messages, and they're like, "Oh, we're on lockdown." I'm like, "What do you mean you're on lockdown? Like, what do you mean like?" And I was like, "Oh, China's crazy. Everyone's on lockdown over there. Like they're nuts over there. They take it way too seriously." And then it started coming over here, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know what happens because this happened." So I could start it. Luckily, I'm like seeing it now, like happen, but in America. And so it's like I kind of get to see it, and it's they're doing pretty good over there now. So, but it's been very interesting. Very scary at first. We're hyper obsessed, and then we started seeing it take like its own like political route, which I don't know how that even happened with the virus. But it's like so weird.
Yeah, it's a mess.
So I don't even watch it anymore.
Let's scrap it.
So
it's a mess.
So now I don't watch it. If I do watch anything about it, it's like from unbiased sources. Like it'll be like Joe Rogan when he has like a specialist on or something like that, where it's like it's not about being a Democrat, Republican, anything. It's just here's the stats, here's the data. That's all I want to know. So when you look at the actual data and you take out any bias from any political party, and that's all I'm research based in everything I do. And when you look at it, you're like, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It isn't as bad as we thought it was. So there's no reason to like be so afraid of it, especially if you're fit and healthy. Obviously, you got to be smart. Got to be,
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to get
it.
You don't want to
get. You do not want to get this shit. That's for sure. Like you do not. It is a bad. At minimum, it's a bad couple of days. From people I've seen like 6 days of the healthy people was like the most I've seen from like. Not my direct people, but from other healthy people, I've seen like 5 to 6 days, but then lingering things for a while, like the taste thing. I had one person I saw, the taste thing was like over a month.
Jeez, can you imagine?
Like the taste was just.
I wonder if she was just like eating the healthiest foods because it doesn't matter.
Dude, I mean, in prep, maybe the best side effect, a temporary taste change, right? Like, so it was like, I think hers was over, it was like, she said she was about 50% taste for about over a month. So yeah, but the cool thing is I think a lot of the people listening to this are in a good position. I think a lot of them are like doing their own research because a lot of people who do this have this is kind of, we dive into some technical things in terms of prep here. So I think a lot of these people will do their own research and hopefully not be so scared. But if you are only watching one source, and that source tends to be more of a biased source, I would say open your horizons a little bit, listen to things look at data, and hopefully, be smart out there. I've traveled, I can't even tell you how many times I've traveled at this point. And I would say I'm at one of the highest risk people, because I'm in a gym all the time. I go to different gyms all the time. I travel to different states all the time. And I'm just being smart. I'm washing my hands. Be wise, sanitize.
Be wise,
sanitize. That's Ashley's thing. Every time we go somewhere, she goes, be wise, sanitize your hands, be a sanitizer. Washing hands, being smart. At first when the whole mask thing came out, I was like, what's this whole mask thing about? I was kind of resistant to it, but now I'm like, whatever. If it helps, even if it's 10%, whatever, just wear the damn mask. Who cares?
I think a good rule of thumb is be aware, not anxious, because being anxious and stressing yourself out isn't going to help anything. Just be very cautious and aware. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's really what it comes down to, So, and it seems like the data is coming out where it's not as transmittable as people thought. If you're being smart,
there's still news sources that makes it sound like the end of the world's happening. So you just gotta make the best out of everything, and just come to your own conclusions, and don't get too obsessed over it. I think that's a big mistake. Don't get too obsessed.
Yeah, that is definitely I think the biggest thing is the scare, the scare of it. But who knows if there's some type of correlation between like you being scared, depressed, and it affecting you more because of X factors hormonally response to that.
Probably affects the weight gain as well.
I can't imagine it being a positive, that's for sure. I can't imagine it being positive in any capacity. But now as far as like the weight gain goes, when we're talking about a lot of this is kind of cool because it's kind of very diverse podcast here. We've kind of gone into all these different areas. But the thing is, I think people who went from, let's say, being really active to really sedentary, but maybe you're and the refrigerator's right there in your living room and you're there all day long. I think that those people need to make that adjustment and understand. And this is the same thing like when you come out of a show or you come out of a diet and you're like, oh, I just go to maintenance calories and I won't gain any weight. When I go to maintenance calories. Well, the thing is, maintenance calories are probably different now. That's what people don't understand. So I always say, hey, when you come out of a show, go right to maintenance calories and let's start working on you hormonally. Maintenance means maintenance. So if you start gaining weight right away, you're not at maintenance calories. There's no debating that, So if your new maintenance, because you're sedentary now, is 500 calories less because you're not moving, it's 1,000 calories less, whatever the case may be. I prepped this one girl, her name was Dina, and she was a horse trainer, right? I don't know if I don't prep her anymore. I don't know if she's still training horses right now. I imagine she's outside, she probably is, but we didn't even do any cardio for her preps because she was so active on horses, right? So she'd eat, I remember it was the craziest thing. She would have in the off season 5,000 calories a day.
Oh man.
Female, 138 pounds. I was like, I felt bad for her.
That's a lot. That's a big grocery bill.
I felt bad for her. I mean, we were doing crazy things. Like she had her own, it was funny. It was like Dina Starbucks drink. Like I had to input it in the system and it was like this crazy 500 calorie Starbucks drink that literally no one else would give that to, Wow. But how else do you get the calories in this girl? She's 138 pounds. Like she was abs all year long, no cardio, right? So let's say she got quarantined and she's used to eating those 5,000 calories, right?
Oh yeah.
Like when you get quarantined, you just go from 5,000 calories because you're training horses and now you're burning, let's say, and that was close to her maintenance. Now let's say she's at 2,000 calories because she's still got a fast metabolism, but she's not moving at all. Well, now we're talking, she's eating 3,000 calories less to stay the same. That's a hard thing to do because she's so hungry. But the reality is her new maintenance calories have shifted because she's not as active, just like many of your guys out there who maybe it's 500 calories for you, maybe it's 800 calories for you. But if you are trying to figure it out, your maintenance calories have adjusted. If you're at home, be smart. You're going to have to maybe adjust and eat a little less, you're burning less calories. That's just how it goes. There's nothing wrong with that. And if people are out there thinking, oh, I don't want to get metabolic damage and all this stuff, it's not going to be a metabolic damage scenario because you're just simply moving less. So you're matching your movement. You're matching your calories in to your calories out more. It's not like you're creating this large deficit that's going to offset all these things hormonally and whatnot. So So just take that into account.
How many people are actually still doing that though? I don't know of any gyms that are closed except for
Arizona, California,
okay.
New York.
Still New York?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are definitely large areas. So
yeah.
I mean, luckily in Las Vegas, as soon as I got here, I'm like, oh, thank God, we got a gym. Yeah. We can work out. So everything's pretty much normal. We have the mask rule thing, but you know, I'm getting in good workouts, especially with these Orange Theory for cardio. I would say I've never worked harder in the cardio department for a show than I am now, and but in a different way, on a more consistent, regular basis, right? So 5 days a week, I'll do the Orange Theory, and you know, it's like an hour class. But in the past, I've done harder cardio sessions, but it'd be like once or twice a week when I would do a 10K race, or I would do the Santa Monica stairs. Those are more intense, but less frequent. I'm doing a lot of frequent cardio. So I'm definitely working hard. I'm doing things that I've not done before. I'm exposing myself to new stimulus, like the plyos. I've never done plyos since like track days. Yeah. So like, I think I'm getting good results from that. But yeah, I mean, I just feel so out of the loop with the shows. I was telling Adam, I'm like, I just feel so out of the loop, like as if I'm starting fresh, like I'm a rookie or something. Like, are they gonna remember me?
Competing for since. When's the last time you even competed?
September,
right? And that's it.
September 2019. So for me, that's a long time. Because my plans this year was, I'm going to compete. I'm going to compete every
month. We talked about doing 8 shows this year.
Yeah, 1 show a month and going all over the world.
Get a show in. Please don't.
And I'm like, just give me a show, but one that I'm ready for. Because it's like, we wanted to do Tampa, but that would have rushed our prep. Because I was like, 1 month out at the time. And then it's like, okay, got to be 3 weeks out, which for me, one thing you guys need to know about me is it's hard for me to get lean. It really is. Yeah. So for me being 95%, it takes a lot to get me to that 100. It really does. So I can't just jump into a show a week sooner than what I was supposed to without too much of an advance. Yeah. So freaking underneath my butt cheeks is the problem area. Yeah. That butt cheek, what do you call it? The ham tie-in area. Yeah. It's always last on you. The last thing to get lean for me. And I can pinch those little butt cheeks, you know.
It's just,
like, oh man.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's hard to even like digest if it's enough sometimes. You're like, wait, is that enough where it would knock us from first to third? And then you're like, well,
that happened. We tried that once before.
We did it once before.
Learning lesson.
And now we're just like super, like, you know what, unless you're absolutely 100%, there's no point, you know, there's really just no point of it, you know? So it's like, why go through all that?
I
if
you're
not confident.
Thicker. Yeah. My legs get thick. And if I'm not super crisp in my butt cheeks, and it just throws my look off. Yeah. I get like a very thick in the booty and thighs, and there's not much shape.
Yeah. So. And the difficult thing, and that's the thing about bikini, is you have to really be able to adjust per person. But the difficult thing with Ashley is she does have really, really strong legs and hamstrings. So she can't pose them really hard. So usually you'd be like, oh, well, she's a little softer in the glutes, just pose her harder. Well, if she poses harder, then they're going to say it's too much on her, like how much size and detail and V, they call it the deep V. They don't want to see too much deep V on those adductors on her back post. So it's like, we don't even have that option with her because they're looking for it, because they've already told her one time, watch out for it. So it's like, you got to be able to adjust. And that's just, for her, it really is. You just got to be lean enough. Yeah. And, you know, you got to be lean.
A lot of people out there just think like, oh, it's a breeze for me to get in shape and super lean, and I don't have any flaws when it comes to prepping. Oh no, I do. It's the hamstring tie-in, which is, I have a good hamstring tie-in whenever I'm lean enough, but that does not even show through unless I'm super, super, super on point. It's the last thing to lose, is that pinch of fat underneath my butt cheeks. Almost like that double butt cheek. You know what I mean? That double butt. Yeah. And, you know, you have athletes that have that opposite problem where they can be off season, like Frida or Anya, they can be off season and still have like some crazy tie-ins. Like, probably they look as good as mine do on stage, but they're off season. But then in some areas, like it's harder for them to lose. You know, this is how you lose weight. Some people hold fat all over. Some people hold it in their abs. For me, the abs are like my abs are crispy AF right now.
Yeah, you're crispy abs right now.
Crispy abs, but butt cheeks, fluff butt cheeks.
What's crazy about Frida is when you say that about Frida, she looks literally the same all year, but just a little bigger or a little smaller, but it's the same. Nothing like gets different looking besides just bigger and smaller. Like her whole, it's like you're exactly the same, but someone clicked the enlarge on the photos. And it's like, maybe she's 10% bigger and then it goes 10% smaller, but nothing changes. It's like a little bit more detail, but for the most part, she's just detailed. It's just,
it's crazy how we're all so different
she's,
as far as weight loss and distribution of fat.
She's hard to prep because of that though. Cause like, there's no like the visual change is so minimal that it's hard to prep someone like that because there's not a lot you can go off of besides measurements and weight, right? I had a guy like that once who was a bodybuilder and he had glute striations and hamstring striations like all the time, like crazy glute striations, even when he wasn't in shape. So like when he would pose, you couldn't even look at him for his conditioning from the back because it would mess with your head as a coach. You'd be like, oh no, he's in great shape. His glutes are striated, right? Like you'd be like, that's it. But so I'd only look at him from the front because I know his glutes are there because it would mess with my head, especially the last 4 weeks. So I'd only look at his like abs and his separation because like the glutes would just mess with your head so hard because it was so detailed. It's kind of funny how like different people would cause different issues, you know?
Yeah. And you know how I was saying too, like I feel so out of the loop. Man, it's kind of making me like so uncertain and unsure of myself because then it's like, since it's been so long since I competed, which September, I guess, isn't that long, but for me it is. I feel like, what does being 100% actually feel like? How close am I? Because I'm like second guessing everything now. I'm like, I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long. Yeah. So it's like.
You're very close right now.
I am. I am 95, but the freaking butt cheeks, man. Here's a fun fact. I've always had the problem of my butt cheeks leaning out the last. I always say to my mom when I lived in Ohio before shows, especially the big ones like the Olympia, I'm like, Mom, please tonight pray for my butt cheeks to get lean. Let's pray for the glutes to lean out my glutes so I can have a good show.
That's so funny.
Stubborn glutes.
That's a common thing. Not the praying. That's not normal.
Maybe I could have been ready for Tampa if, like, my mom prayed for my butt cheeks, and maybe you. Yeah. We prayed to the glute gods or something.
I haven't been praying for your butt so much. That's what the problem is.
It's fault when I'm not ready. It's probably, let's just blame you.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's way easier to blame you than blame me.
I want to blame you, Ashley, for is putting these seltzer waters. You guys drink these seltzer waters? This is actually, I don't know, these prep girls, they swear that there's flavor to this. Like Anya does this to me too. She's like, oh, I got these new seltzer waters that have these flavors. They're so good. And I'm like, this does not.
I had to put stevia in my liquid stevia.
This tastes like carbonated water. That's
if it wasn't for that, I'd be drinking Diet Coke and Diet root beer all day though.
That's better for you, I guess, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, it's closer to
I'm going to give these 2 thumbs down on, it's just.
Well, the mojito one is way better.
Yeah, you girls always say that. It's the same thing.
Non-alcoholic, by the way.
We have a mojito holding up the our
you can
phone.
Take it off. I think it'll be okay.
Show. Oh, it's holding up our phone here. This is our podcast station. It's so high tech. Oh, we are building we wanted to talk about it. We are building our own podcast.
We're gonna have a
podcast room.
But what I'm most excited about is the green screen we're gonna have.
Yes.
Which means we can have
cool backgrounds.
Just an unlimited amount of the most random backgrounds.
Yeah, I'll let you pick them most of the time.
I saw somebody with a podcast and they had baked beans as a background.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm like, whoa. I mean, they weren't fitness, but I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That is epic. But just think of the possibilities.
So
it'll never get boring.
One thing, so you guys have an update too. I'm actually out here and I'm meeting the building contractor again tomorrow. We got the structural engineering, I guess if you call it a report or a plan, I don't know. And they were submitting for demo. That should take 3 to 6 weeks after we submit for demo to actually start the project. And they're telling me that it's going to be done by November. I don't believe them. No one, especially with everything going on right now. But that's all I can tell you guys is what I'm being told. And when we get it open, it's going to be private, but I want anyone who listens to this to come in, get a workout for free. It's on me. Come say hi. Ashley's going to be there really often. She'll be doing posing classes there and whatnot. I'm sure a bunch of other things there too, I imagine. And and yeah, so it's for the community. You know, I'm not charging anyone to go there. That's just not my thing. I'm not a gym owner type of guy trying to make a business out of owning a gym, but it's for everyone. So yeah, so if you're in the area, you know, that's what it's there for. And we're going to have our own podcast set up. It's going to be all professionally mic'd and all that. So bear with us until we get that up with our hit and miss sounds that we get when we're doing Zooms from when I'm in Denver, she's here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I always like to do in-person ones better though.
Me too.
You know, because technology is a little sometimes.
It's easier with sounds too. With sounds, I can just upload this. But I guess with that, unless we have anything else.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for existing, and thanks for tuning in to the Bikini and the Brain podcast. And as always, if you have any interesting topic ideas that you would love for us to discuss on the air, shoot us a message or comment. However you got to do it, get the message across. We want to know what you want to know about.
Yeah, and I did this thing the other day where, you know what we got to say? I didn't get to say. You remember in January when we had the giveaway a trip to USA's if you did something good for people? We actually gave that away the other day. I posted it on my Instagram, but I didn't put it on our podcast, and I should definitely put it on here. I think it's important to say who you gave it to, right? So people are like, oh, they actually gave it to someone. But everything got pushed back. USA's got pushed back. But there is a girl named Nicole Perry, and she helped out like a single mom who was going through a rough time, had 3 kids, was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with these 3 kids. And she ended up buying her like a bunk bed so the kids had a place to sleep. She trained her for like over a month to help her get back in shape and get her mind right. The lady, I guess, went through a hard time, went through divorce, started doing drugs, things like that, but helped her get back in the right place. So awesome, Nicole, for doing a great thing in the community.
Congrats.
Yeah. And yeah, she sent me in this story and we started like building a relationship from it. And she actually happened to be like, I don't know, not I want to say like 30, 40 minutes from Denver area. And so she came in and it just kind of worked out really well. So now she comes to our posing classes and all that stuff too. But yeah, she got a trip to USA. She got a suit from Ravage Sands. She got a shoe fairy, gave her shoes. Glam Comp Jewelry gave her jewelry. Team Elite paid for her to go to USA's and her flight. So her entry and her flight and all that.
You get a high five from me.
Yeah.
High five.
Yeah, high five. So we're going to try to do another one of these things on this podcast before the end of the year. We got some cool sponsors lined up for some cool things. And we'll just go from...
That's amazing. I hope I win.
Yeah. So we'll leave you guys with that. So thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it.
Thank you for existing. And please, everyone out there, thank your parents for having you, because without you, the world wouldn't be as awesome as it is.
I want to leave you with that.